we doing here, Sony? What in God's name are you doing here? Because to us, to normal people, the people who don't have an extreme bias to one company, it looks like you lost your damn mind. And I think that's the best way to say it. You have lost your damn mind right now. And it's not something that you should be doing because, yes, from a business perspective, the PlayStation brand, everything is pretty much status quo. Let's be real. The PlayStation 4 crushed the Xbox One in terms of system sales, and the PlayStation 5 has been doing very well. But from the optics perspective, from the fan perspective, from those who maybe don't have an undying bias towards the system, and even those who do have an undying bias towards the system, you have lost your damn mind. You have lost your damn mind. You have gone back and undone all of this good consumer will that you have created over the years by trying to do things as I don't even know. I don't even know how you explain it. You know, there's been so many things that have happened under the Jim Ryan regime of Sony, under the Jim Ryan regime of PlayStation, and you can't really necessarily blame him for everything. Obviously, some of these other decisions come from other people within the company, but he still has to sign off on these things. And since he's the figurehead for this, he's the person that puts himself out there as the president of the PlayStation brand, then we're gonna, talk about him. But this latest thing, everyone is just sitting there scratching their head. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? How do you think this is a good idea? And of course, I'm talking about the Horizon Zero Dawn leaks. Now, I'm going to go ahead and call these leaks because after this story broke yesterday, people came out of the woodwork. Check marks come out of the woodwork. Oh, yeah, I've heard about this. Yeah, this is a real thing. Blah, blah, blah. And essentially, what is going on is Sony is remaking Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that came out 5 years ago, a game that came out on the PlayStation 4, got enhanced for the PlayStation 5. But they're remaking it and they're adding in some multiplayer. They're reworking the graphics to sort of be like how they were in Horizon Forbidden West, to look a little bit more like those. Little quality of life improvements. They're focusing in on accessibility, and that's going to be a big thing about this. And they're adding in some online multiplayer into the game. We're talking about a game that came out 5 years ago that runs on the hardware it was designed for, that runs better because you did a patch on your current system, the PlayStation 5, and you're remaking it once again. Now, how is this happening? The Last of Us. Look at the Last of Us situation. The fact that the Last of Us Part 1 came out for the PlayStation 3, then got remastered for the PlayStation 4, then it was free on the PlayStation 5 if you had PlayStation Plus's stuff, and then they remade that game supposedly from the ground up, but took away things like the multiplayer and stuff, and then slapped $70 on there. That game must have sold very well. Because if that game didn't sell well and gamers, actually put their money where their mouth is and be like, yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. I don't think that this should be a full price game, when realistically it's a game from the PlayStation 3 era that has already been remastered, but now you're remaking it again for the third time in 10 years. It must have sold well. If it sells well, then companies are going to get green lights to do other things like this. And I just think this is so insane what Sony is doing right now, because there have just been so many lies. There's been so many lies with the PlayStation 5. And I'm not here to just bash the PlayStation 5 as a piece of hardware. I own a PlayStation 5. I like my PlayStation 5. I think it's a very powerful system. I'm still waiting to see this power fully realized and fully utilized. I don't need to see games that came out 5 years ago get re-released with some minor enhancements at a full price point. And I know what you're saying to yourself. Well, RGT, you talk about a lot of Nintendo stuff, and they ported over a lot of Wii U games to the Nintendo Switch. Now, not to justify this, because I still think that's very stupid as well, but you have to remember two separate things about that. First off, the Wii U sucked. All right, it was a failure. Nobody bought the damn thing. So for a lot of people, these were new games. But I think the most important thing was you went from a completely different physical medium as well. You went from a disc-based medium to the cartridge-based medium, and there wasn't a way to just play Wii U games on your Switch. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily right or wrong, but when you're talking about PlayStation 4 games that have been enhanced already for the system that is currently out on the market with the PlayStation 5, but you decided to remake them. What the hell are you doing? That's the problem with Sony this generation. There's just been so many weird little things, whether it was based on lies, whether it was based on, the fact that, oh, we believe in console generations. And then we're sitting here years later and the PlayStation 4 is still getting full support. There's still going to be PlayStation 4 games going into 2023. And I think we're still going to see them in 2024. Oh, well, that's because of COVID. That's because of this, that, and the other. People can't get their hands on a PlayStation 5. I don't think that's a viable explanation. I don't, because you wouldn't have came out and said those things. COVID was happening when those systems came out. We were in the thick of COVID in 2020. That's not really an excuse. You understand what's going on here. You understand what's happening with the marketplace and how games are being developed and how games are being worked on. You raise the price of the PlayStation 5 and all these other regions because of the fact that, inflation, this, that, and the other. You're making hand over fist. You're recording record-breaking profits year after year on your video game division. And you go out of your way to be the only company that's raising the price of their consoles in various regions. You keep going down these avenues. You keep doing these things that, from an optics perspective, people are getting tired of seeing. People don't want to see you try to come along and do something like the PlayStation Premium tiers and, your whole online infrastructure, which I initially was very positive about. But then I quickly realized this is a company that doesn't care about retro games. They don't care about their back catalog of games. Jim Ryan has gone on record and said things like, I don't care about who wants to play these old video games and stuff like that. And then the proof of it is in the pudding with these services, because you have PlayStation 1, you have PlayStation 2, you have PSP games that are supposed to be coming to the system at a regular rate, and they're not. They're just not. It's like they're almost scatterbrained this generation. I think that's a good term to use for Sony. They're very scatterbrained because they move from one thing, they try one thing, and then if that kind of cools off, instead of trying to make that work, instead of trying to stroke those fires and put some more coal in there, put some more wood on the fire to make the fire grow, they just move on to something else. Oh, here's a PlayStation rewards program. We can get a little cool things for your thing, and you can get premium service. You can talk to customer service if you buy a few games for your PlayStation 5, and it's like, what? That's what PlayStation Stars is? Some sort of strange reward program where the main goal is to get good customer service? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And I think the thing to me that bothers me the most is there's so many people that are justifying this stuff, and there's so many people that if you say anything negative about the situation, you come in with a different mindset than them, you're wrong. Okay, you are wrong. Sony is perfect. Sony is doing everything, and that can be said for every company, because let's be freaking real. Nintendo fans are diehard fans. Xbox fans are diehard fans. Sony fans are diehard fans. They think that this company loves them as much as they love the company, and that I can't believe that these people aren't getting paid by these companies the way that they brown nose them and just wash their penis with their hands, like, oh yes sir, Doug Bowser, yes sir, Jim Ryan, you're the greatest. And it's like, bro, you don't have to be a slave to these consoles. You can call out things that you think are wrong. And from an optics perspective, for myself, and I think a lot of people, a lot of people are starting to see this, Sony is just handling this generation piss poor. Now, the thing of it is that I know that this video is going to date itself. Whenever these games like Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, stuff like that starts to come out, nobody's going to care about what Sony has been doing. But I feel like in the back of your mind, that you'll think about that when Sony says something, when Sony talks about a new program, when Sony comes out with something new, because from an optics perspective, you start to shift, you start to change a little bit. I don't know, man. I just think it's bizarre. The fact that we're getting into an era where we're remastering 5-year-old games, probably coming out with them at full price for minor incremental things that I don't think the general consumer necessarily cares about, but people will still go out and buy it. It just shows you that, Actions speak louder than words. Wait for a sale, wait for a used copy or something. If you're interested in the game, there's nothing wrong with that, but to go out there and support it on day one or buy these collector's editions, oh, the Firefly edition for The Last of Us Part 1, these companies are just like, oh, well, we control you. You don't control us. You don't dictate to us what games we're gonna make because you'll buy anything. Take a shit in a box and write The Last of Us Mario edition on it. And people would freak out. I don't know. Consumers, we need to be stronger. We need to be stronger because these companies are taking advantage of us. And I think the main thing I want to instill in your mind is Sony has lost their damn mind, and people have lost their damn mind simping for these systems by being diehards for them, by dying on their sword from them. Like, bro, they don't care about you. Tupac said it best that they don't give a fuck about us. So stop falling in these romanticized relationships with these companies. Sony, you done lost your damn mind. You can kiss my ass, think I'm paying another $70 for Horizon Zero Dawn remake. The game came out 5 years ago. Kiss my ass. It's time for gamers to rise up and call out this bullshit and stand against it. My voice is getting dry. It's very cold outside. Where's my Zevia? Where's my Zevia sponsorship? There's no Zevia sponsorship here. Why would you sponsor me yet? I drink your crap all the time. It's not crap. It's actually really good. I'm done. Are you buying this freaking Horizon Zero Dawn nonsense? Or are you going to say, hey, you know what? Enough's enough. Enough is enough. We're getting crazy. We're getting out of hand here. This is ridiculous. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.